Hello everybody! As the first lesson of our online course on peace and conflict studies, I will provide a lecture on introduction to conflict and peace issues in theory. As a social phenomenon, conflict is a universal character, inevitable and integral part of human. It is multi-sided and multi-layered. It shouldn't be perceived as an isolated event which can be resolved, tackled or managed. Conflict is a dynamic process having developed from their past interactions. In general, conflict has several definitions by different scholars. For example, according to Michael Nicholson, conflict is an escalation of a disagreement, which is a common prerequisite and is characterized by the existence of conflict behavior, in which the beings are actively trying to damage one another. There are several origins in economic differentiation, social change, cultural formation, psychological development, and political organizations. Conflicts are dynamic as they escalate and de-escalate from time to time because of the intensity of relationship between the conflicting parties. To put in brief, a conflict is generally defined as a situation that two or more parties strive to acquire the same scarce resources at the same time. In other words, conflict is a clash between interests, opposing ideas, values, needs, identities, or positions within an individual or involving two or more persons, groups, organizations, or states competing on mutually incompatible goals. As a driver of social change, the conflict is considered to be constructive if the conflicting parties acknowledge the legitimacy of different interests, positions, and needs of all actors involved in the conflict. Constructive approaches to conflict aim to establish a socio-political environment that enables the cause of the conflict to be addressed and which enhances sustained and non-violent alternatives to the use of force. Unlikely, destructive approaches are characterized by parties' efforts to resolve the conflict unilaterally and at the cost of the other parties. Thus, conflict may emerge on different levels like intrapersonal, interpersonal, intragroup, and intergroup conflicts. First, intrapersonal conflict in which process occurs within an individual or in the minds of a person. Second, interpersonal conflict in which process happens between two individuals. This conflict proves how people are different from each other. Third, intragroup conflict in which process happens within a group, team or organization as the members have different views and ideas. And finally, fourth, intergroup conflict in which process occurs between different teams. Conflict may either be manifest through actions or behavior or latent, remaining inactive for a while that incompatibilities are not articulated and or are part of political systems, institutions, and other types of structure. The conditions, resources, and context of the conflicting parties are roughly equal between similar actors in symmetric conflicts. They might compromise on how to tackle a conflict according to agreed political, social, or legal rules, norms, and thus transform their rules to the collaborative engagements. However, asymmetric conflicts happen because of unequal social status, unequal wealth and access to resources, and unequal power that leads to the discrimination, poverty, unemployment, oppression, and crime problems. In the late 1960s, Johann Galtung suggested an influential model of conflict that encompasses both symmetric and asymmetric conflicts. He suggested that conflict can be seen as a triangle with contradiction, attitude, and behavior. The contradiction is defined by the parties, their interests, and the clash of interests between them in a symmetric conflict. Attitude covers the parties' negative or positive perceptions and misperception of each other. However, in armed conflicts, parties' attitudes are often influenced by emotions like fear, anger, hatred, and bitterness. Behavior involves cooperation or coercion and conciliation or hostility. Now, I would like to talk about the life cycle of the conflict. Conflicts might develop and alter at any speed and time. They can also take long periods of time to continue unnoticed before they suddenly erupt into overt violence. The process of conflict escalation is unpredictable and complex. The same process is true of de-escalation, with unexpected breakthroughs and setbacks changing the dynamics. The U-curve conflict cycle includes the conflict process itself and possible prevention, management, and resolution measurements by indicating the rise from stable peace to war and de-escalation to stable peace. As you can see, the curve is split into 5 levels of conflict intensity, including stable peace, unstable peace, open conflict, crisis, and war in 9 chronological phases. In stable peace, tension between the parties is low and there is various forms of links and cooperation between them, including partnerships on economic, environmental, and other non-sensitive issues. Tensions increase during a period of unstable peace. In this situation, peace no longer seems guaranteed as the existing negative peace and tension between the parties is so high. In an open conflict level, the conflict is identified and the parties start to deal with it even if the militarized options are not inevitable. In the crisis level, war is very likely to happen and parties are keen to use military options. Sporadic violence between the parties may happen, however, the possibility of open violence doesn't exist. In the war level, violence is quite widespread and intense. In the de-escalation level, the process is reversed by changing from war to crisis through open conflict and unstable peace to finally achieving stable peace. Thank you very much for watching us.